Wee woo, wee woo. Emergency episode. Footy with the boys.
You're a
We are
clown.
back. We have zero schedule and we do not care because the Premier League is on crack. Stephen A would be proud. Mike, wearing a beautiful toffee kit. How are you feeling after the big win?
Oh, amazing. Cloud nine. Best performance of
Clown.
the year, biggest win of the year, statement performance. I'm ecstatic.
Oh, we will be getting into it later. Nick, as a hater, what a day it was for you. Tottenham going down and City going down. Oh, you are preying on the downfalls. How does it feel that God is answering your calls?
No, I am a religious man, so I think it's just proof that there's a higher entity out there. And it's just, I don't know, it's just sometimes there's a little chill. It can get a little lonely at the top, so I think I'm gonna start wearing a little sweater to the pod. Arsenal well clear at the top of the table. Not too worried about those little Liverpool kids either. So good day for the boy.
If anybody is wandering religiously, this is proof God is real. Nick has been redeemed by our Lord. But we do have, before we get into all the games and all the craziness that happened in the midweek that caused this emergency pod, brand new draw for the Copa America 2024 hosted here in the US. We'll run through the groups and then we'll talk probably mostly about the US, to be honest, their chances, what it means for them. But starting in Group A, we have the reigning world champions and Lionel Messi, Argentina, who will be kicking it off in Atlanta versus CONCACAF 5, most likely Canada. But they'll also have Peru and Chile in the group there. Mike, quickly, top two that goes through. Who do you think are the two here?
Argentina and CONCACAF, whoever gets in.
Yep, maybe Trinidad and Tobago. I think you're on the right path there.
I hope it's
Group
Canada for my sake, but
B. Yeah, we're gonna assume it's Canada, but they have been choking mightily recently. Group B, Nick, we have Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela, and most likely Honduras off of recent form, but Costa Rica could be a possibility as well. Who do you see as going through here? I think this one's a little bit harder to choose the two.
Give me the Cotton Bowl teams: Ecuador, Venezuela.
Yep. I think Mexico has a pretty good shout just off of being Mexico and finding ways through, but boy, their form is a bit hard to believe they'd be bossing this around. And the prime time group here, Group C, United States, Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia. Huge group for the U.S. They get a CONCACAF team for their third pot team in Panama. Good for them. And Bolivia, not the strongest CONMEBOL team, put with them as well. Both those great signs, but Uruguay being put in that side. Mike, what would you give the U.S. chances wise, percentage wise, for the chance for them to top this group versus Uruguay? Playing Uruguay in the last game, potentially for the group there.
I think topping the group's a tall task. I think getting out of the group, definitely doable, and it should be done. Confident in that. But Uruguay, they might be my favorites for the whole tournament, just based on how they're
Oh my
playing.
God.
So, yeah, I hope for a good win. I hope they win because that would be a statement win, and we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I think favorites might be a bit of a stretch. Maybe dark horse would be a better adjective to describe them. But you know what? Bielsa has them playing some good ball, and they've been getting some big results. But that first place and second place matters so much in Group C for the United States because of Group D. That is who they'll play in the knockout round. And in that group, it is Brazil, Colombia, Nick's team, Paraguay, and Jamaica. Jamaica with some few Premier League stars on their roster, and one that was a huge star in one of the games we'll go over later. Nick, you are a Colombian man. God has been on your side in the Premier League. Is he going to be on the side of the Colombians? They've had a pretty good start to CONMEBOL qualifying. Do they
Very
bring
good.
that over here?
Yeah, they just got to fly out Lucho's dad to every game, and I think like he'll just be crying in the stands, crossed up, and And I think we'll get favored. So I like us to get through this group. We beat Brazil recently. They're in maybe their worst form since I've been alive. So I like us to get out the group, and I don't hate us topping the group either.
Yeah, I don't think it's a crazy chance for Colombia to top the group. But like again, I said Group D and Group C play each other in that knockout round. So for the U.S. to avoid Brazil, I think is a huge thing just because they are such a crazy high quality. Colombia might have the chance to help out the U.S. in topping the group if the U.S. can't beat a Uruguay or get second in that group. But that is starting summer of 2024. But today, the midweek, that happens now, is the Premier League. And what are these games that we are watching? We start, well, we could not start anywhere different than our Everton Toffees. A 3-0 win versus Newcastle. They waited till just about the 80th minute, and Dwight McNeil with a shot like freaking, I don't even know, prime R9 McNeil out there bullets it in. Ducore, an absolute clinical finisher, shows his prowess. And Beto, I would say a dark horse for the Golden Boot this year, is just getting started,
Ooh, that's a
and
dark horse.
it's going exponential from here. Mike, this was a team that I think Newcastle looked rather flat, and Everton was just throwing everything at Newcastle. I think the shots were just absolutely crazy, the amount Everton ended up getting off. But what did you see from this game? Where do you think Everton can go? Already out of the relegation zone at the moment.
Um, I saw a lot of grit. I saw confidence that we could win. And I saw a few things that Dyke did differently, just kind of based on lack of personnel. Garner dropped out of the squad, I believe some sort of illness, sickness, something like that. So we had to move around some players, put Ashley Young at the right wing, Jack Harrison playing just under Calvert Lewin. Not his most natural position. He looked a little out of sorts there. But we played some Everton ball. We didn't care too much about possession. We ran at Newcastle when we had our chances. We broke quickly. We fired in crosses. When there's a chance to cross the ball, we cross the ball. And we get on the end of it quite a bit. Calvert Lewin was not clinical today. He missed easily the best chance of the first half, and that was a little disappointing to see. Him being our number 9, our first choice striker. But we came out at halftime and we kept on them. There's a few scary moments there in the beginning of the second half, but we didn't let them get any real chances. Isak had a few, and Dwight McNeil kept pressuring Kieran Trippier, finally pickpocketed him, took it well, buried it. Second goal in a row. He's on fire. Dwight McNeil, absolute steal. And then Decore did his thing. He's been finding a few goals here and there. And Beto, man, congratulations. Good for him getting his first Premier League goal. Another mistake, Kieran Trippier held him on. And, geez, Beto looked like he was not going to get it done. He is not a fast man, but he gave it all he could. He legged it at the end, and he shot the 9-hole on Dubravka. Excellent finish. What a way to finish the match. And a huge 3 points against a very good team. Not at their strongest, but nonetheless, a very good team.
Yeah. And I think Everton this game, the amount of chances they create is absurd for a team that obviously with the 10-point penalty, but a team that is near the bottom. But realistically, the way they're playing right now, they had a pretty awful start to the season in how they're playing. But if you take out those first 3 weeks, they're looking like a very good team, getting some good results as well. Already into a place of safety, obviously, with still other games to happen around the league. But Everton already already in safety, 10-point deduction still there. If they didn't have that deduction, they would be in 10th place right now. They'd be right around that Chelsea, West Ham, Brightonish area. And I don't think it's crazy to say that they're at or around that level right now, that they could be pushing up there if without this 10-point penalty for some type of European spot in the Conference League. I think some investment is still needed to get a little bit more attacking threats or more clinical threats. But I was thinking this during the game when we were creating so many chances, but there wasn't that final perfect ball. There wasn't that final clinical finish. And I thought of a little U.S. and Everton connection. Been some great U.S. Everton connections. What do
They
you
sure
guys
have.
think of Gio Reyna, who's right now not playing much at all at Dortmund, to Everton, take over that 10
Come on.
role?
Come on.
I want to know from both of you guys. And Nick, I'll start with you because you seem like you're being a bit of a bitch about it. Gio Reyna or Everton, who's the first to say no to that move? Gio Reyna's not playing much, and Everton need that attacking spark. I think they both give each other a little bit of what they need.
Gio Reyna's above the level of Everton, clearly. I'm glad they're in good form. Up the Toffees. I'm for the boys. You know me. Um, but it feels like they're kind of building the two of you up to break you back down. I wouldn't
It's
get too
happening
ahead of
for
myself. As an Everton fan that you guys have been since I've known you, the experience you guys have gone through, it just hurts me to see you hurting. So just please relax a little bit. But they are playing well. But Loki, I think Sean Dyche says no. Gio Reyna is not like the profile of player that he wants with his team. Industrious, strong. Even Gio's not strong. I do think like a
Player.
I do think I do think a creative spark is what you need. And he would fit that bill, but I don't think it's a good match.
I don't know if there's that many industrial creative sparks though, and I think it helps Gio Reyna get a little bit more industrial, like you're saying, but it also lets Everton to have that a little bit more technical flair and creativity. Mike, I know you're backing it. Are we getting GR7?
I would love to see it. Do I think there's a chance? Not really. No. I think Gio Reyna, yeah, might be above the level we're currently at, but he's not playing at Dortmund, and he does need a new team, in my opinion, to really have some consistent play. Um, I think maybe his pride would get in the way, and I think Nick's right that he wouldn't mesh with Dyke's style all that well. I could see a player like Brendan Aronson being much more Sean Dyche's forte, a dude who's just an absolute workhorse in the midfield. I don't think that's necessarily what we need. I don't think it would make us all that much better because he lacks that real creative
He's a
spark.
player. A lot of work, industrial, no finishing touch.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's
what
the classic
fits the
QT.
profile. I'd love to see Reyna. Do I see it happening? No, but Christmas miracles. Hey, come on in January. Make my year.
I think the pitch is simple. American history there. Landon Donovan, Tim Howard. You
Get
get
Lando on the
Gio
phone.
Reyna. He's going to have a pretty easy slot there because our 10 right now is a defensive mid. I think, Premier League football could be nicer than just sitting on the bench there, at least for just a half season loan. But hey, we'll keep that in the dream book. We move to the other big game that happened in the midweek. It is Manchester United versus Chelsea. Manchester United 2, Chelsea 1. It is Scott McTominay. I believe we were all over this, saying that Scott McTominay would get the winner. Don't know if we said it was going to be a brace, but
No.
Scott McTominay, the Manchester United hero, he might be their top scorer this season. Guys, not exactly what maybe we were expecting in terms of goal scorers, but 2-1 to Manchester United moves Manchester United into a pretty good spot in the table at 6th, tied with Tottenham right now, only 3 points behind City. What do we make of this game and where Manchester United sit on the table right now, Nick?
I think that Chelsea's attack is horrible, is what I make of this game. But focusing on Man U, I like to do something that we don't usually do, and I'd like to give Aaron Ten Hag a little bit of credit because it took some balls to bench Marcus Rashford. Not just bench him, but bench him against the Chelsea team that's been the narrative at least has been like the Chelsea project is on the up, the Man U project is on the down. Pochettino's working well. Ten Hag isn't, even though Man U has more points in the season. So I think it took a lot of balls to start Garnacho and Anthony on the wings. I actually thought Anthony played decent, but both of them definitely worked hard. Which again, when you have a player not working hard in the system that Ten Hag is trying to do, which Rashford hasn't been, a lot of the system seems to crumble. So they looked a little more unified. The midfield and defense was still crap. But nonetheless, it's honestly they were still bad. They were bad, but it's 3 points against a maybe surging Chelsea team that hasn't even broken 20 points. We need to stop giving them credit for doing nothing. But yeah, I mean, if anything, say something nice about Man U. Way to go, Ten Hag. I'm proud of you for dropping Marcus Rashford. I think it was the right call.
And Mike, on the other side, Chelsea, like you said, have not broken 20 points yet. They sit at 19. Everton would be ahead of them without this point penalty. Chelsea's seemed like they were going to turn it around so many different times and just haven't. How much patience do you have for this Chelsea team to turn it around if they're going to continually play at a exactly middle of the table, the exact same that they were at last year?
I think you still have some patience with how young they are and a new manager. Ten Hag's a relatively new manager, but he's a couple of years into the system now. And Poch is just getting with this club. You have more patience with him and this squad than Manchester United currently does with theirs. But yeah, that doesn't take anything away from this being a bad loss and a bad performance. Um, they were really wasteful with the few chances they had. They didn't create a whole lot. The goals still aren't coming. And defensively, they dealt well with the first chance. And then Scott McTominay would get to the second ball and scored two. So not good. But, Man U's got the Premier League Player of the Month. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Harry Maguire. And Scott McTominay has been leading some teams that maybe should not be expected to be doing so well. Also with Scotland, bringing them to the Euro. So he's been a really big star, honestly, recently for both national team and club. But of course, there was another game that Nick prayed on the downfall of a team here. It was Tottenham versus West Ham. This was actually my lock of the week because I thought, as Tottenham has lost, or not won, I guess. They had 3 losses and a draw. They had not won in their last 4. I thought, you know what? They are so due. They will bounce back versus a West Ham team that hasn't looked impressive. No, not at all. And they lost it by the most Looney Tunes ass goal ever. 2-1 here. Nick, what did you see from this game? What does this mean for Tottenham? They do not have a win. They have 4 losses in their last 5 and are dropping down the table. They were top of the table just a couple weeks ago.
First time in Premier League history that the team who scored first has failed to win the game after scoring first for 5 games in a row. 5 games in a row, they get out to an early start, and let's all praise the big Aussie. He looks funny in a big suit. He speaks with a funny accent, and he says, "We attack. That's our DNA." Your DNA is showing that you're basically the same as Eric Ten Hag, Chief, because you're on 27 points, both of you. You're bad mate. You're a bad shit team. You over relied on a couple players. Those players are gone. Christian Romero, by the way, was never good. He's back and he looked awful. Forget about the goal. Any center back can head something in. He can't defend, and that's a fucking issue. So, listen, I've been saying it from the very start. Some people on here, I won't name names, but it's everyone else other than me, calling them title contenders. I said they're frauds. I said we'll see right through it. I said fraud watch. Turns out I was right. It feels good to be right. It feels even better to be top of the Prem. And it feels best to be 9 points clear of those little pussies over in North London. We are the real team. North London is red. Tottenham can suck a fat.
All right. Wow. Mike, I think if someone were to have said they were a title contender, that was a decent point because they didn't have all these crazy injuries then. But There
crazy
is
injury.
a
They
Death
have
wins
2
championships.
injuries.
please order in the court here. There is an argument to be made that Ange Postecoglou, who obviously started the season out flying, has lacked a lot of tactical flexibility. He had a quote today where he said, "I don't care if people love the way we play. I don't care if we're playing in an attractive style. What I care about is that we're not winning." Does that seem a little interesting for him to say when he has been so gung ho about his style and playing super aggressive rather than switching up his style with all these injuries and depth pieces? Do you think it's time for Ange to kind of have a moment of reflection in a bigger league here than the Scottish Premiership and say, yeah, maybe I need to switch up what I'm doing if I don't have the players to do that system? Or do you think this is just a matter of they are just decimated by injury and not getting the luck of the draw?
I mean, yeah, it's one thing to say something, and then it's another thing to implement it. And he's obviously not doing that. 5 games in a row, you go up and you can't see out a match. That's a huge problem, and that's really indicative of the management. And you know what? They have 76% of the ball. They're still playing the same style. He needs to adopt a little bit of no nonsense defending, no nonsense play, some time wasting towards the end of these matches if he's going to see out a result, or the shit's going to happen like it did today or the last 4 games where a late goal comes, a sloppy goal that's a self-inflicted wound, and then you walk away with nothing. Um, the injuries are something for sure. Yeah, you're not going to look past those, but their squad's still relatively good, especially compared to this West Ham team, who's they're no slouch, but I'm not going to sit here and say this West Ham 11 outmatches Tottenham's. It doesn't. On paper, they're pretty equivalent, and Tottenham's still has the difference makers with a son in the squad, even with Giovanni Lo Celso, who's one of your second string mids or attacking players. He's on form and he's a quality player.
What
So
the
that
fuck is
argument,
he on form?
Giovanni Lo Celso is
he
the one
scored
that
two
you
goals.
picked up.
He scored in two
All
games
right.
in a row. He scored against City. Come on, let's watch the games here. So yeah, it's on him. It's on him, and they're not seeing out matches, and it's like deja vu. It's Groundhog Day over and over and over again. You're like, oh, they scored first, they're going to win the game, and then no, they don't adjust tactically throughout the match, and we see this.
Yeah, he is the anti Mourinho. He gets the lead and just keeps pushing even harder. Does not park the bus, and maybe he should learn some lessons about doing that. Our last game is Manchester City versus Aston Villa, a game that we, according to Palmer, we're talking shit about Arsenal with because we said, or at least I said, that I believe that Arsenal would be more likely to drop points, which they could still drop points because Aston Villa is looking damn good. They are in third place, only 2 points behind second, and only 4 points off the entire league lead here. Is it time we start taking Aston Villa as a serious title contender, Mike?
Okay, we're gonna get in trouble again here if we keep using that word title contender. Top 4?
We're
Yes,
15.
definitely.
We're 15 games in.
Champions League? Yes. But the title, I still think they're not as quality as Arsenal, Liverpool, or even Manchester City. Definitely outplayed Manchester City on the day. 100% props to them. But the City squad, when really firing, is still a level above. So I'm not going to go as far to say they're a title contender, but they're definitely a legit team, and they definitely outplayed Manchester City this week.
Yep. And I think that may be a bit of a stretch, but god damn it, I'll ask it for content. Nick, how great is it to see one Leon Bailey, a CONCACAF star, sinking the super team of Manchester City, but also your big rival of the last year, Manchester City, dropping 6 points beneath you, no wins in their last 4 games in the Premier League. That seems absolutely absurd. If you would have said that at the start of the season, I don't know what I would have thought, but the difference with no Rodri and no Kevin De Bruyne for this team switches them entirely. What is going on at Manchester City? What would you say is their biggest problem over there?
I think the name you should have mentioned that I think is the biggest problem is no Gundogan either. That midfield
That's
is
right.
does not shield that back four at all, bro. Like no defensive transition plays coming from Man City. Aston Villa played the exact game that it seems like Man City's having struggles with, even in that Tottenham game. Transition football right now, even with Rodri in there. A lot of people saying Rodri not here. They lose the game without Rodri. He's the best player in the world. Yada yada. Rodri not look great against Tottenham. Like on the ball, obviously he's world class, but when the game gets stretched, he doesn't have like the physicality to keep up with it, in my opinion. So that it looks not great. I'll let Mike cook a little bit on what's wrong with Man City because I know he has thoughts too. But also just really quick, Aston Villa, I think 14 wins in a row at their home ground at Villa Park. I mean, as well as Douglas Luiz. What a fucking player that guy is. His technical ability from a deep lying playmaker role and just how he takes corners for them. He does all their free kicks. Like he controlled that game today. Leon Bailey obviously a star too, but I'm very impressed by Villa. I think it'll be a tough game. But Mike, thoughts on City?
My thoughts are really negative, and um, I have negative thoughts for Pep Guardiola. Like, I think he is a fucking
Ooh.
huge reason this City squad is struggling. I think he's holding him back. I think his tactical bullshit is getting in the way. And yeah, I'm talking about one of the best managers of all time. Pep's got nothing left to prove. But that being said, he's got fucking four dudes playing in the midfield, none of which are midfielders. Manuel Kanji, John Stones, Rico Lewis, Julian Alvarez, a striker, two center backs, and Rico Lewis, who I think is still a left back. I don't really know what he is. He's not ready to play at at the level that these bigger Premier League fixtures are at. So crazy squad selection. I know they're limited, but fucking try something differently. Phil Foden, put him in the midfield. I know he's not maybe playing at the level that people expect, but he's your most creative player. And if you put him in the
Nunes.
midfield, what's up? Or Mateus
Nunes.
Nunes, right? He gets subbed in later, and he hasn't been featuring at all. I don't know what's going on there, but he comes on way too late to have any sort of impact. The biggest issue I'm seeing is this three back with Jasko Gvardiol at left back. I've been against it all season. You have Nathan Ake. Every time Nathan Ake plays, he puts in an absolute performance. Yeah, he got dogged on that header against Tottenham to concede the last goal. But what he provides for you when he's on the ball is double what Gvardiol gets you. He's an actual outside back. Yeah, he could play in the center, but he can get up the wing. He can make connecting passes. He can create an attack. He's not going to play fucking negative every time he gets the ball. And that's all that Gavardio gets you. He's a center back, and he's not a creative player. So I think Pep's limiting this. Another fucking idea I have is why is Bernardo Silva still over on the right wing when he's probably your best option in the center of the park right now? Do better. Don't keep doing the same fucking thing and expecting to keep winning games. It's not happening. The City squad looks stale. They don't look threatening in attack. And yeah, if they don't change something soon, like forget about what he's saying about they're winning the Premier League this year. Arsenal's not going to take their foot off the gas. This is going to be one for them to win.
Yeah, and I think with a manager like Pep and a lot like Mikel Arteta, I think at times you can see them overthinking things, and I think Mikel Arteta has found that balance where I think early in the season he said we used like 17 different formations in the second half today, and I was like, that's such an overcook. It's probably why it's looking a little janky. Obviously, Arsenal is sorting it out. They've looked, I think, in the best form in their recent games that we've seen them have consistently this entire season. Manchester City doing the opposite, and they're still running with just such complex ideas with new players, with a bunch of players going in and out due to injuries, suspensions, everything like that. Guys, they are 3 points above Manchester United. Manchester City has the most stacked roster you could have in world football at the moment, with the amount of money that is poured into this. 115 FIFA fair play rules going against them to build this fucking squad. And they are 3 points ahead of a team that has Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans as their starting center backs. There need to be some questions asked of Manchester City. They just won the treble, and they're 3 points ahead of Manchester United, who has looked terrible in every game. Yes, Manchester United have been picking up points. Credit to them. But man, Manchester City in 4th place this late into the season. Guys, on a panic scale for Manchester City with their expectations, where are we putting that at this moment? 0 wins and 4. Nick?
Out of 10, I'll put the panic at like a 4. I'm not too panicked. It's Pep. I'm not gonna fall into this false sense of hope that they're just gonna fall off. They'll figure it out, but they look shit.
Mike, fuck that. Give me panic. Give me some issues. Are we at a 10 yet?
It's
We're
for
not
the
at a
content,
10,
bro.
but we're at a 7 or an 8.
Oh my!
And if this was any
What was
other
your
team,
exact
you would be like, "Oh, you're full of shit." But I'm doing the panic based on Manchester City standards. They look like a fucking different team than last year. They're not creating. They're not getting balls to Haaland. Haaland's not nearly as clinical as he was last season. He's wasting the chances he gets. And yeah, he looks fucking lazy sometimes. He stops making runs throughout the game. He bitches more than any other fucking player in the Premier League. You never see a dude put your fucking hands up in the air and scream at teammates like Erling Haaland. He needs to be better. He needs some humility. Yeah, you fucking set the record last year, but one fucking season, Harry Kane did it for fucking 6 or 7. So fucking dude, get it together.
Does he have? Isn't he the one with the ponytail? The blonde hair guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, honestly, if he wants service, get out of Manchester City. Just leave them. You're yelling at them already. Go
Come
to
to
Everton.
Go
Go
to
to
Everton.
Everton. We
What
will
McNeil
take him.
will get
We
you
will
the
teach
ball.
him humility. We will teach him work rate. God, it's just meaning to happen. With Manchester City sliding like this, I think Everton can slide in. Gio Reyna, Erling Haaland, reunion in Everton. Little Dortmund Day action. But
We'll take
boys,
Jadon
that
Sancho too, dude. We'll take him.
fuck it. Throw in the entire front three of Borussia Dortmund back in like 2016, 2017. We are absolutely cooking. But boys, that wraps it up for our quick emergency pod. Any final thoughts to leave the viewers with after all the craziness that just happened? Nick, we'll start with you.
9:30 Pacific time this Saturday. Be there, Gunners at Villa. It's gonna be a hell of a game. Up the Gunners.
Hell of a game is a bit of an understatement, even. Mike, final thoughts?
This Sunday, the real blues will be decided, and it's not Chelsea. It's Everton. They're coming to hell. They're coming to Goodison. Be on fraud watch, baby.
I don't know if Chelsea can be on fraud watch at the moment because they haven't been a legitimate team for about 2 years here now. But let's go with Toffees. Huge win versus Newcastle. We were saying we'd be fine with a draw. They said, fuck that. We're taking all 3 points, and we're doing it with 3 goals. Oh, Sean Dyche, you legend. But until next time, that has been our emergency pod. Stay safe out there. Gio Reyna to Everton. Remember.
Up the Toffees.